Hi, in this video I'm going to discuss measuring campaign performance. So in the last few videos I've kind of drilled into specific metrics that are part of the user acquisition performance mix like LTV and retention and ROI. And I think one of the hard parts about user acquisition is that you need to track a lot of these different things, but you can't focus on any one of them singularly to optimize your campaigns for the greatest possible effect. And when I say greatest possible effect, I mean money. So your job as user acquisition manager, and basically your imperative is to make your company as much money as possible. Because while it's great to have high LTVs and low CPIs and high ROIs, if you go to the grocery store and try to buy food with those, they're probably going to insist that actually you pay with money instead. So what you should be focused on, really, the ultimate metric, the ultimate success metric, and the ultimate thing to optimize for is making money. And if a high LTV campaign does that, then great. If a low LTV campaign does that, then great. So here in this video, I'm going to walk through two examples that kind of show how the interplay of all these different metrics basically impacts the ultimate, your bottom line, which is profit. So here you see we have two campaigns. One is called low ROI and the other is high ROI. And as you might expect, one has low ROI, so it has positive 16% ROI, and the other one has a high ROI, so it's positive 62% ROI. And the reason for this is because the cost per install on the low ROI is higher, and it's low on the high ROI campaign. If we dig a little bit deeper, we see that they both run for 180 days. So they both start on day one, run for 180 days. They both basically have the same underlying performance, so they both run on the same retention and LTV curve. So they both produce $2.03 of 180-day LTV. The only difference is that the cost per install drives the return on ad spend lower on the low ROI campaign. So which makes intuitive sense, right? You're paying more for the same thing, even though it's still profitable. You're just getting a lower return on it, right? So here you see that by day 90 for the low ROI campaign, you only have recouped 83% of your spend. And on day 90 for the high ROI, you've already made profit. You've made 16% profit. So, but otherwise, these are exactly the same except for the cost per install. So now we can take a look at the dashboard and take a look at what matters, which is cash flow. So on the screen, this is profit. So it's not revenue, but it's actually revenue minus expenses on any given day, which is why at day 180 here, profit jumps up, right? Because both of these campaigns only run for 180 days. So at day 181, you stop spending money and you start only making money on the previous cohorts. You're not buying new cohorts, but all the previous cohorts are continuing to give you money. And what we see is the low ROI campaign has bigger sort of upfront losses and bigger sort of upfront outlays. And the high ROI campaign is pretty flat. So it starts off with like pretty low losses, and then it sort of jumps up at day 181, and it sort of like steadily declines as your older cohorts churn out. But the interesting thing is that the low ROI campaign actually produces $560,000 of profit, and the high ROI campaign only produces $200,000. Right? So it makes kind of intuitive sense if you think about it. So this is over the course of 365 days. If we cut this off at 180, the high ROI campaign would have made more money, and the low ROI campaign actually would have lost a lot. But over the course of a year, the low ROI campaign produces a lot more profit. And the reason for that is just because there's more volume, right? They both have the same LTV. You're taking the bigger loss up front, but the low ROI campaign just produces a lot more users, right, that end up driving the same amount of LTV, the same amount of revenue. So I think this is kind of an example where, if you were sort of maniacally focused on ROI and you say, okay, I'm going to divert all of my budget to this campaign because that's huge ROI. Well, if you did that, you'd actually be missing out on this other campaign that just drives a lot more volume. And that's not to say that it's realistic to think that, a 50-cent difference in bids would produce a 5x difference in volume, but who knows, it might. The point here, though, is that ROI can't be the only success metric, and neither can LTV, and neither can CPI, or whatever. You need to combine all of the different metrics that are at your disposal to decide how you allocate budget as a UA manager.